Okay, so this is another installment of my rock and roll stories from the 80s and 90s. And this, you're probably wondering, who's this old dude on a motorcycle, right? Well, that is a guy named Bo West. The story starts literally weeks after I get a bass guitar and take up trying to play. So Bo was a bass player in one of the bands back in what the days of what I call the kind of founding metal bands of the San Diego music scene. And he was in a band called Raven Mad. And how I met him was my sister knew him, and I think she mentioned that I played bass. So I think, kind of forget, but I think he offered to just come over and give me some tips. And so I think I was 14 and a half. Yeah. And so he came over, and he was, already an established advanced player. He'd been playing years. He came over, and I was such a new player that really, what can you teach a brand new player? Not much. So really, he just kind of talked about the instrument and showed me some stuff. I think he did show me the Ian Hill triplet picking pattern. He showed it to me, and I started, instead, you always start off with one, I started off with two because I was a novice. He said, no, you always want to start off with one. He told me some other things about the instrument that, I didn't know at the time. I just took his word for it, but I eventually came to learn that, yeah, he was right about a lot that he told me. So this is Raven Mad. That's the band. Raven Mad was playing, I can't remember when they were formed, probably 78 or 9. And they were playing with bands in the area such as Bible Black, Assassin, Ragged Lace, a band called Jackal, not to be confused with the later Jackal on MTV Headbangers Ball, a bunch of other bands, Victim, Prowler, all those kind of bands. And Bo, I don't know for sure, but he probably knew Stephen Pearcy from Rat back when he was playing in Mickey Rat. So I mean, that's how far back this goes. So I was just getting into music while their scene was what I call the first tier of San Diego metal music scene was raging. And he was heavy into bikes, so he was always heavy into bikes. But this is Bo on stage. And my very first concert was after he came, to show me a little bit about the bass. He mentioned that they were going to be playing, and me and my nephew wanted to go. We were, like I said, like 14, almost 15 years old. Maybe we were 15, but we had just turned 15. It was the summertime. And so he picked us up one night, and we grabbed our admission money, and he took us to his gig. And so once he parks, he's got to do his band. So he just turned us loose, and we got ID'd. Well, actually, it must have been it was all ages show. It was in Lakeside, California, at this place that later became it was a cobblestone building. It was a neat club, and it later became a video store. I think the next time, years later, I was there again and saw that it was a video store when I was actually recording in a studio just like a few doors down. But that's him on stage with his Blue Mockingbird, which was pretty much his signature bass. And so we saw Raven Mad that one night. It was literally our first concert, and it was pretty cool, And when we were done, he threw his bass to his roadie guy, and he wiped it down, put it in the case, and they load up their gear, and he took us back home. Yeah. And so that was pretty much the last time I saw Bo. Whereby I talked to him. A few years later now, I used to see Bo in the town of Poway, California, because he lived in the area too, or if not in Poway, which is where I grew up. And I would see him, and I would kind of admire him from afar. I knew who he was. I knew that he wasn't active really in bands anymore, but I kind of looked at him like, wow, that's that guy that used to be in Raven Mad, that big deal of a band. And now he's just kind of like, just he's just a regular dude now, even though he used to be like in this band. And looking at him, I used to tell myself, I know that I'm going to be in that guy's shoes someday, and it did eventually come to pass. You're in a band and things are happening. Whatever happens, the band breaks up, and pretty soon you're not in a band anymore, and it kind of becomes your identity. Let me bring up his Facebook page. Now, Bo died about last year this time, and he got in a motorcycle accident. I guess he unbeknownst to me at the time, he got in a motorcycle accident. He mentioned it on his Facebook. And before he got in his motorcycle accident, you can't really read this, but right here it says, he posted just out of the blue, "My life sucks. Wish I had the balls to ride my bike off a cliff." And it's like, everybody was like, wow, what's going on with that? And some of that is probably related to, he never really made it in music, just like most of us haven't. And a week or two later, he posted, oh, no, this is 4 years ago. And this, how those memories come up. And so he said, "Back when I was somebody," and there's that picture again, when he was in this band called Raven Mad. And not 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks later, he was gone. I guess he got in a crash, a single vehicle crash on his motorcycle. He was wearing a helmet, but he didn't. I know a person that related to me that he only wore those bare minimum California legal helmets, and she said it probably didn't help any. But right before he died, I contacted him. Over here is the instant message conversation, and so I'm like, "Hey Bo, do you remember how to play Search for Signs?" That's a song that appeared on the No Substitute for Steel album, which was a compilation album of San Diego bands back in the early 80s. And so he said, "Yes, I do. I'd like to do a bass cover of it on YouTube if I can get your help, because I can't really hear all the bass, and me, I like to get things right. So there's no isolated track for this. This is an obscure recording nowadays." And so he asked, "How do I know you?" Because I've been Facebook friends with him for a year, but he didn't know who I was. And so I explained. I told him the story about how my sister knew him, and he came to show me some bass stuff once, and he took us to his gig. And then I sent him a video of me playing, so he could see how far along the kid that didn't know nothing when he met me had gone. He said, "Wow, very cool. How can I help?" Now remember, I'm an old fucking biker these days. And I just said, the beginning verses, is the bass playing the same notes as the guitar chords, or is it just riding the E string? I said, "Hey Bo, if you have the ability to record video, you could play the whole song yourself and send me the SD card. I'd be happy to post it on my channel." So it was kind of like, I could cover it, or hey, if he wanted to do it, why should I cover it? If he would actually cover it, I would just put it on my channel. He said, "I'll try. It might take a little while because I can't record video, but know someone who can. I'll check on it." I said, "Either way is fine by me. I cover your work, or you do it yourself, just so it's up and people see it." And that was the last message I sent him. And literally like 7 days later, while waiting for him to get word from his buddy about recording, he just up and died because he had scraped himself up and went to the ER for road rash. But when they wanted to check out his head, it was related to me that he refused to get checked out by doctors. And working in a hospital, I know how important it is to get yourself checked out. If you're over 35, taking a spill, it can lead to your death. So he wasn't thinking right. He didn't listen, and then he had a brain hemorrhage, and so he's gone. And that was right when I was discussing him with him about doing a cover. And so, real bummer, And so that's the story of an old bass player from the old scene that helped me out a little bit and showed me a little of the ropes and took me to his gig, and it was pretty cool. And so I really don't have much else to say, but I'll leave you with a little bit of Search for Signs. See you next time.